Long ago, when the sky was young, the gods shaped the world with light, thunder, and quiet dreams. Above the mountains, Olympus shone with golden halls where the immortals feasted in endless time. Yet beneath the earth, hidden from mortal eyes, there flowed a river unlike any known to humankind. Its waters glowed softly, as if stars had melted into streams, carrying voices older than memory. The ancients called it the River of Souls, a place where every life found passage and quiet renewal. No waves crashed, no storms raged, only a calm current that whispered stories in endless refrain. Mortals never saw its light, yet their laughter, grief, and prayers drifted upon its eternal tide. The river held secrets, not of endings, but of beginnings, of cycles where nothing is truly lost. Even the gods, mighty and proud, stood in awe before its shimmering path beneath the stone. Among them was Zeus, the king of sky and thunder. Restless in his heart despite his boundless power, he ruled the heavens with justice and might. Yet still he wondered about the fate of fleeting lives. What meaning did mortals carry, whose days passed like shadows, yet burned with such brilliant flame? One night, the winds brought whispers of change, and Zeus listened. The river was calling his name. Beneath the surface of the earth, far below the roots of mountains, a hidden current quietly flowed unseen. It was not a river of soil or stone, but of silver waters glowing faintly with a mysterious inner fire. The ancients whispered of it in hushed voices, calling it the River of Souls, a secret older than Olympus. Its current did not roar or rage, but moved with the grace of eternity, smooth and constant as the stars. Every drop shimmered with fragments of memory, carrying stories of lives that once walked under the sunday. Some waters sang with laughter, clear and bright like children's voices echoing in fields of spring. Others moved heavy with sorrow, holding the weight of tears shed in lonely nights or parting farewells. Together they formed a harmony, neither joyful nor mournful, but endless, weaving time into a single song. No mortal hand had ever touched its banks, for the river lay hidden, wrapped in shadows beneath the world. The gods knew of it, but few dared to linger, for it reminded them of truths even immortals found heavy. It was said that to listen too long was to hear one's own reflection, whispered back in timeless tones. The keeper watched over it, an ancient presence neither mortal nor divine, patient as stone, gentle as dusk. He guarded the current not with chains or force, but with silence, for the river obeyed only its own law. Sometimes faint glows rose from the depths, flickering like lanterns, each a soul waiting for its next path. Some souls were destined to rise into mortal life once more, carried by the current to new beginnings. Others drifted longer, content to remain in the calm, like dreamers lingering between sleep and waking. The river itself seemed alive, breathing softly, as if each ripple was the heartbeat of creation's memory. It did not judge, it did not choose. It only carried, giving passage to every spirit without question. Those who had loved deeply shone like embers, warm and golden against the silver of the stream. Those who had suffered left faint shadows. Yet even shadows were softened, dissolved by gentle light. The keeper often leaned close, listening to the whispers, tracing patterns that no mind could fully know. It was said that destiny itself was written upon the surface, not in words, but in rippling reflections. Mortals lived unaware of its current, yet their every breath, every joy, every sorrow flowed back here. The cycle was unbroken: birth, life, death, and return, each soul adding a note to the endless song. The gods, though eternal, sometimes stood at the edges, humbled by the quiet persistence of the stream. Even mighty Athena once confessed the river taught her wisdom beyond scrolls, beyond the halls of thought. Poseidon, master of oceans, admitted its calm power rivaled the fury of storms he could summon. And Hades, ruler of the underworld, respected its flow, though it lay apart from his dark dominion. Yet of all who knew, none pondered it as deeply as Zeus, whose heart was restless in the face of time. He had heard whispers of a stirring in the current, as if the river itself was calling to him by name. It was no storm, no omen of wrath, but something gentler, like a summons borne upon starlit waves. For though he ruled with thunder and lightning, Zeus felt the pull of questions too vast for Olympus. The river of souls was waiting, shimmering in the quiet dark, carrying secrets only it could tell. And in its depths, the first note of a new story was rising, ready to meet the king of the sky. High above the mortal world, Olympus stood shining, a palace of clouds crowned with eternal flame. From its golden halls Zeus looked down, the weight of the heavens resting upon his immortal shoulders. He was king of gods and sky, wielder of thunder, guardian of order. The master no storm could defy, yet even in his glory, a restlessness grew, a whisper in his heart that no lightning bolt could silence. He watched mortals rise and fall, their lives brief but burning, like sparks flying into night and fading. Every dawn brought their laughter, their hopes, their songs, only for dusk to steal them into silence. For Zeus, eternal and unyielding, time was endless. But for mortals, each heartbeat was precious. He wondered why fleeting lives carried such brilliance, when his own eternity often felt heavy and still. Upon Olympus, the gods feasted, their voices bright, their joy untouched by the shadow of endings. But Zeus, seated on his throne, often gazed beyond the horizon, seeking answers no banquet could give. He saw a mother's prayer whispered over a cradle, soft as the dawn, fragile yet filled with strength. He saw an old man's final smile, calm and true, as if he had found peace in a life well lived. And he wondered, what hidden power lived inside mortal hearts, brighter than the fire of Olympus? The winds carried whispers of the river of souls, a place beyond even divine understanding. Zeus listened, his brow furrowed, sensing a call that was not thunder, not storm, but a deeper current. He remembered the first time he heard it, faint as a sigh, yet steady as a drum beneath creation. It was not a warning nor a threat, but a beckoning, a question rising from the depths of eternity. Still, he hesitated, for even kings of gods could not walk lightly into mysteries beyond Olympus. Each night, as stars burned quietly above, he felt the stir of longing, the ache of questions unanswered. Why did mortals, fragile and brief, leave echoes that seemed to outlast even the roar of thunder? Why did their small acts of kindness ripple wider than any decree from the halls of the gods? Zeus could silence storms, command oceans, and summon fire, but he could not command his unease. His heart, boundless in power, carried a hollow space that only mortal meaning seemed to fill. He thought of Prometheus, who defied Olympus to gift fire to humankind, sparking their fragile light. Perhaps the Titan had seen what Zeus was only beginning to grasp, the hidden fire within mortality. He thought of heroes who had risen and fallen, their names echoing still in the songs of mortals. Though their bodies faded, their deeds endured, carried by memory like sparks floating into the stars. The gods were eternal, yet their stories often grew stale, while mortals renewed theirs with every dawn. Zeus felt humbled, though he would never confess it, by the unshakable spirit of those who must die. The river's whispers grew louder, tugging at his thoughts, calling him to witness what lay beneath. It was as though the souls themselves were asking him to look closer, to understand their hidden truth. For all his strength, Zeus realized he had never truly known the fragile power that shaped the world. Mortals lived in passing moments, yet they wove beauty that even eternity struggled to equal. As the king of gods stood beneath the stars, thunder silent in his hand, he made a quiet vow. He would seek the river of souls, not as a ruler demanding answers, but as a seeker of meaning. For in its depths, he felt a promise waiting, one that might change even the heart of Zeus. One evening, as the horizon burned gold, the winds shifted, carrying whispers from far beyond Olympus. They were not like the usual calls of storms or prayers, but softer, like secrets drifting through twilight. Zeus stood at the edge of the heavens, his gaze deep, his heart stirred by the strange murmurs in the air. The voices carried no fear, no plea, only a rhythm that echoed like waves upon a hidden, endless shore. He listened, and within the sound, He sensed the touch of something older than even his own reign. It was as if the breath of the river of souls had risen, threading its way into the world above. The whispers curled through the sky, brushing the clouds, slipping past the stars until they reached his ear. They spoke without words, yet their meaning was clear. The river was restless, seeking his presence. Zeus frowned, for never before had the current stirred in such a way, reaching toward the throne of heaven. It was not a summons of defiance, but of invitation, a call wrapped in mystery and serene persistence. He closed his eyes, letting the wind carry the sound deeper, past his crown of thunder, into his heart. Visions flickered faces of mortals, fleeting smiles, fleeting tears, all shimmering like ripples in water. The voices were fragments of their lives, carried into the air, woven together into one eternal song. The king of gods felt humbled, almost small, in the face of such gentle yet unyielding persistence. He knew this was no accident, no idle dream. The river itself had chosen to speak, and only to him. For nights afterward, the same murmurs returned, low and constant, like a tide that never ceased. They found him even amid the banquets of Olympus, slipping through laughter, whispering in his mind. He would turn his head, as if hearing a mortal's call, but it was always the same soft current of sound. The other gods noticed his silence, his distance, but they did not ask, for none dared press the king. Still, the voices grew stronger, filling him with a strange longing that thunder could never resolve. He thought of the river's hidden flow, of the keeper who watched with eyes as old as time itself. What message could be so great that the current would break its quiet to call a god of Olympus? Zeus pondered, restless upon his throne, his heart torn between the skies and the whispers below. Each murmur seemed to reach deeper, touching not just his thoughts, but the very core of his spirit. He felt the echo of mortal prayers, rising not to Olympus, but carried downward into the river's glow. It was as though the stream itself was lifting those voices back, sending them to the God who ruled. At dawn, he stood alone, the clouds crimson, the world waking beneath, yet his thoughts with the river. The wind was no longer a mere breeze, but a guide, pulling him toward a destiny hidden in shadow. Thunder rumbled faintly, not in anger, but in recognition, as if the sky itself knew his heart was stirred. Zeus raised his hand, and the lightning stilled, the heavens waiting for the choice of their ruler. He whispered to himself, not as a king, but as a seeker. The river calls, I must listen. And so began his descent, not with fury, but with quiet resolve. Following the whispers into the deep, the winds carried him onward, their song mingling with the voices of souls, leading him ever closer. For the first time in ages, Zeus was not the hunter of answers, but the one being summoned. And beneath the earth, the river of souls brightened, knowing its call had reached the king of gods. Zeus descended through layers of cloud and shadow, the world above fading as silence wrapped around him. The winds guided his path, not wild or fierce, but steady, like hands leading him toward a hidden truth. At last, he reached the cavern where the river of souls flowed, its glow painting the stone with silver light. The air was cool and still, yet alive with whispers, as though the walls themselves remembered every voice. There by the shimmering bank stood a figure, neither mortal nor god, neither young nor old. The keeper of the river watched him, eyes reflecting starlight, calm as eternity, patient as stone. The being was cloaked in shadows and light, shifting softly, like dawn meeting the edge of night. Zeus paused, for though he was king of heaven, here he felt the weight of another kind of power. The keeper bowed slightly, not in fear, but in welcome, as though greeting an old traveler returned. Long have you ruled the skies, Lord of Thunder, the keeper said, voice gentle, echoing like water. But here lies a current even gods cannot command, for it flows with the truth of all that lives. Zeus stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the water, seeing faint glimmers that rose like stars from within. What is this place, truly? He asked, though he knew its name whispered long in the halls of Olympus. The river of souls, the keeper answered, a stream where every life passes, carrying memory and light. It is not death nor birth, but the space between, the song that binds beginnings to their endings. Zeus listened, the words heavy yet serene, filling him with awe rather than fear. He saw a child's laughter ripple across the current, bright as dawn, dancing like sparks on silver waves. He saw an elder's wisdom drift gently, calm as twilight, blending into the river's endless harmony. Each glow was a soul, unique, unbroken, waiting for its next journey, or resting in quiet peace. The keeper spoke again. "This river has no master, no chains, for it belongs to all and judges none. It carries kings and beggars alike, warriors and poets, weaving their essence into eternity." Zeus knelt, thunder silent, his reflection shimmering beside countless mortal lives upon the water. Though eternal, he felt small, humbled by the vastness of what moved beyond his divine command. "Why have I been called here?" he asked, his voice softer than he intended, touched by reverence. The keeper's eyes glowed, endless and deep. "Because the river stirs when gods forget the weight of souls. You rule with might, but you seek meaning. And so, the current offers you a mirror of truth." Zeus reached out, his hand hovering above the surface, trembling though no storm shook Olympus above. The water pulsed gently, as if alive, carrying the heartbeat of countless generations through time. He felt the echo of prayers, laughter, tears, love, all woven into the current flowing past his hand. The keeper watched in silence, for no lesson was greater than the one the river itself would give. Zeus drew back, breath steady but heavy, as visions lingered in his eyes, luminous and unyielding. He had come as a king, but here he stood as a seeker, a wanderer humbled by a greater eternity. The keeper said, "To walk beside this current is to see not endings, but the threads that bind all." Zeus bowed his head, not to a ruler, but to the mystery that lay glowing beneath the earth. And in that moment, the river of souls brightened, welcoming the thunderer into its quiet embrace. Zeus lingered by the glowing waters, his heart unsteady, his mind circling like a hawk above deep valleys. The keeper stood silent, giving him space, for no answer rises before the question is fully born. The river glimmered softly, its surface alive with sparks that drifted like lanterns into unseen horizons. Each light carried a story, a memory, a fragment of song woven into the current's eternal melody. Zeus closed his eyes, listening deeper, and the river's voice rose like a chorus carried by the wind. It was not a single voice, but many, overlapping, harmonious, filling the cavern with quiet radiance. He heard joy, pure and unbroken, laughter of lovers beneath spring blossoms in forgotten villages. He heard sorrow, heavy but dignified, a parent whispering farewell to a child departing too soon. He heard courage, sharp and bright, a soul standing firm against darkness, with nothing but hope. Zeus felt these currents moving not apart, but together, weaving balance, weaving wholeness. The keeper finally spoke, his words soft yet strong. "Do you see now, Thunderer, why you are here? This river holds all, without judgment, without crown, without fear. Here all voices are equal." Zeus opened his eyes, the glow of the river reflected in his gaze, shimmering like molten gold. "I came as ruler of Olympus," he said, "but I see now that power bows to what endures." The keeper nodded, as timeless as the current itself. "Power rules moments. Souls weave eternity." Zeus stepped closer, watching the lights ripple, some vanishing, others appearing in endless rhythm. He whispered almost to himself, "The lives of mortals, brief yet full, are threads that bind the cosmos." The keeper's eyes gleamed with knowing. Even gods forget, yet the river remembers always. A silence fell, deep but gentle, broken only by the eternal flowing of the silver current. Zeus lowered his hand once more, daring to touch the edge of the water, careful, reverent, humble. The river did not resist, nor yield. It simply was, steady as the heartbeat of creation. And then, a vision came, not forced, but gifted, like a window opening to a greater horizon. He saw a shepherd guiding his flock beneath stars, unaware his simple kindness shaped generations. He saw a poet writing words that echoed beyond her lifetime, planting seeds in unseen futures. He saw countless unnamed souls, each shining, their light no less important than kings or heroes. Zeus's breath caught, for he realized that even he, Lord of the skies, was but one note in the song. The keeper spoke again. The river does not ask you to rule it. It asks you to remember. To remember that thunder fades, yet what mortals give love, courage, kindness flows forever. Zeus's eyes grew distant, touched by humility, by truth greater than any storm he could summon. He whispered, "Perhaps I have measured greatness wrongly. Perhaps true power lies in what endures." The keeper inclined his head, as though hearing words long awaited, carried by ages to this moment. The cavern glowed brighter, as if the river itself rejoiced in his awakening. Subtle but radiant, Zeus straightened, not in pride, but in reverence, his spirit quieter, his gaze deeper than before. The keeper stepped aside, gesturing to the current. "Walk with it. Listen. Let it shape your path." And so Zeus walked along the river's edge, each step echoing like thunder softened into rain. He carried no lightning, no scepter, only the weight of what he had learned, shining within. And though the cavern stretched far, each spark of soul lit his way, a constellation beneath the earth. For the first time in eternity, Zeus walked not as king, but as a student of the river of souls. Zeus walked deeper along the riverbank, each step carrying him further from Olympus and closer to truth. The glow of the current shifted, no longer silver alone, but touched with hues of gold, blue, and green. Each color pulsed gently, weaving into one another like threads of a vast and unseen tapestry. He paused, sensing that the river was not only memory, but also a mirror of creation itself. The keeper followed at a distance, silent, allowing Zeus to discover what words could not explain. The air grew warmer, filled with a hum that seemed older than the stars, alive with subtle rhythm. Zeus listened, his heart quiet, hearing not thunder, but a song, without beginning, without end. It was the melody of existence, carried by every soul that entered and left the flowing current. The god of sky realized that here, the river did not divide divine and mortal, it bound them. For the essence of gods too was part of this flow, though few dared admit it or understand it. Zeus's eyes narrowed as he glimpsed faint lights brighter than the rest, pulsing with deep resonance. They were ancient souls, perhaps once heroes, perhaps once simple beings, whose love changed eternity. He leaned closer, curious, and saw faces reflected, fleeting yet radiant, like constellations on water. A child who shared bread and hunger, a healer who gave hope without reward, a friend who forgave. Their light outshone warriors and kings, proof that greatness was not in crowns but in kindness. Zeus drew a slow breath, thunder quiet in his chest, as understanding grew like dawn over shadow. The keeper finally spoke. "This is why the river flows, to remind that what endures is not power, but the gentle acts, unseen by most, are seeds that echo beyond time, rippling through eternity." Zeus felt the truth pierce him deeper than lightning, humbling, yet filling him with quiet strength. For ages he had believed thunder ruled the world, yet here he saw what truly shaped creation. He whispered, "It is not storms that guide the cosmos. It is the small lights, countless and unseen." The keeper nodded, voice low. "Even gods must learn, or else they too fade into silence unremembered." The cavern deepened, opening to a vast chamber where the river widened like a shimmering sea. Here the lights swirled together, forming patterns, galaxies of souls flowing in harmony. Zeus stood at the edge, awed, his spirit still though his mind raced with wonder unending. In the waters, he saw not just mortals, but echoes of gods themselves, their essence woven within. For even divinity left traces here, not of lightning or war, but of moments they chose compassion. The sight struck Zeus with clarity. No one, not even he, stood apart from this eternal current. He bowed his head, humbled before the truth. the river of souls embracing all without distinction. The keeper's voice rose once more, carrying the wisdom of countless ages. This is the harmony, the balance not of might but of memory, of love, of every soul giving shape to eternity. Zeus lifted his gaze, eyes bright, as the water reflected back his own place within the song. For the first time, he did not stand above creation, but within it, part of the eternal chorus. He whispered, "I see now. To rule is not to command, but to honor what flows beyond power." The cavern shimmered, the current glowing brighter, as though the river itself answered his vow. And in that stillness, Zeus walked further, his steps lighter, carrying not thunder but understanding. The river of souls flowed beside him, eternal, serene, carrying gods and mortals alike into forever. The cavern widened into an expanse where the river's glow reached upward, painting the stone like dawn. Zeus slowed his steps, for here the current seemed deeper, its voice stronger, layered with countless echoes. The keeper followed in silence, allowing the thunderer to feel the weight of what was unfolding. Above the water shimmered shapes, faint outlines of moments drifting like smoke, delicate and fleeting. Zeus lifted his gaze and saw entire stories forming scenes of lives, joys, and choices woven together. A farmer sowing seeds in the soil, his hands rough, his heart steady with hope for tomorrow. A mother singing softly to her child, her song carried into the current as a light eternal. A traveler offering bread to a stranger, their kindness blooming brighter than riches or crowns. Zeus watched, and each story dissolved into the flow, becoming part of the great chorus below. It struck him that the river was not only memory, but also promise. A chain linking past to future. The keeper finally spoke. Every act ripples outward, carried far beyond what mortal eyes can see. The river gathers them, small or great, weaving them into the endless pattern of creation. Zeus's chest rose slowly, his breath heavy with awe, as if the weight of eternity pressed gently on him. He realized he was not only witnessing souls, but the legacy they left behind, forever alive. The vision shifted, and Zeus saw flashes of storms he himself had summoned in anger or pride. He saw mortals trembling, not in reverence, but in fear, their voices pleading into empty thunder. The river carried even these echoes, not to condemn, but to remind that power leaves marks eternal. Zeus lowered his eyes, humbled, for the current reflected not only mortals but the gods as well. The keeper's voice echoed like a calm wind. Even divine choices ripple, shaping mortals and beyond. Zeus nodded, his voice low. "Then we too are threads in the tapestry, not its makers." "Yes," said the keeper. "You are guardians, sparks of light, but the weaving belongs to all souls." The cavern trembled softly, not with storm but with harmony, as if the river agreed with the truth. Zeus stepped closer, kneeling by the water, his reflection surrounded by glimmers of countless lights. He reached out again, and the current swirled, not resisting, but welcoming his touch with quiet grace. A vision bloomed Olympus itself, radiant yet woven into the river's fabric like every mortal dwelling. Zeus saw the gods as part of this current, their deeds flowing alongside shepherds, poets, and children. He whispered, "No one stands above this river. All are carried, all are remembered, all are bound." The keeper smiled faintly, his form flickering like flame and shadow. "That is the heart of eternity." The lights brightened, swirling upward, casting patterns upon the cavern walls like constellations. Zeus felt as though he stood not underground, but beneath a sky woven of memory and soul. The air shimmered with stillness, broken only by the steady song of the eternal current. Zeus closed his eyes, letting the harmony fill him. Softer than thunder, yet greater than storms. He no longer asked why he was here, for the answer lived in every ripple of the river. The keeper bowed his head slightly, for even gods must bow when truth reveals itself fully. Zeus rose, taller, not in power, but in spirit, carrying the river's wisdom within his heart. He knew that when he returned to Olympus, he would no longer see mortals as fleeting shadows. Instead, he would see stars burning in the current, each soul a spark holding part of eternity. The keeper's voice whispered one last time, "Remember, Thunderer, greatness is not what you command. It is what you honor, what you carry, and what you let flow beyond yourself into forever." Zeus looked to the river one final time, the glow soft upon his face, his heart steady, at peace. And then he turned, walking forward, his steps no longer heavy, but aligned with the song of souls. The path along the river narrowed, guiding Zeus into a corridor where the glow dimmed into quiet dusk. The cavern walls leaned closer, carved by time, their surfaces etched with patterns like forgotten runes. The keeper followed behind, still and silent, his presence as constant as the current's endless flow. Zeus walked slowly, sensing that this place held secrets older than Olympus, older than himself. The river here was calmer, its voice softer, carrying whispers instead of songs, fragile yet enduring. He bent closer, listening, and found not stories of deeds, but single words spoken by fading voices. "Hope," one said, faint yet bright. "Forgive," another echoed, drifting like a feather on still air. "Remember," whispered a third, so soft that even thunder strained to hear it clearly. Zeus furrowed his brow, for these were not great acts but fragments of hearts left in silence. Yet they burned brighter than lightning, carried forward by the river, preserved beyond the reach of time. The keeper's voice rose like a shadowed hymn. "Here lie the quiet truths, too small for history's gaze. Words whispered in solitude, promises kept unseen, kindness given without witness, all live here." Zeus touched the surface, and visions bloomed again, delicate, fragile, yet powerful in their simplicity. A child sharing an apple with another, though hungry himself, his small act echoing forever. An old woman mending a cloak for a stranger, her hands trembling yet steady in love. A lonely prayer spoken in the night, heard not by mortals, but carried by the current below. Zeus trembled, for he realized the river cherished not only triumph, but also the gentlest of lights. He whispered, "So much is unseen by us, yet the river remembers all. Nothing is lost." The keeper nodded, his form shimmering in half-light. Even the smallest spark joins the eternal flame. Power measures storms, the river measures love, and in that measure all are equal. Zeus closed his eyes, humbled, for he had measured greatness with thunder, not with quiet endurance. The cavern grew darker, yet the river glowed brighter, a beacon in the stillness of shadow. It carried him onward, his heart softened, his mind awake to truths beyond divine pride. He saw his own reflection ripple, mingled with countless others, none greater, none lesser. And in that vision, he felt himself not as king but as part of the eternal flow. The keeper's words returned. To honor the river is to honor every soul, no matter how small. Zeus breathed deeply, the cavern's cool air filling his chest, steadier than the storms he once wielded. The path widened once more, opening into a chamber where the current pooled in quiet circles. Here, the water was still, a mirror showing not faces, but the essence of truth itself. Zeus gazed into its depth, seeing not mortals nor gods, but the fabric binding all together. A weave of light, endless, unbroken, delicate, yet unyielding, the true foundation of eternity. He whispered, "I see it now. The cosmos is not built on thunder, but on the strength of souls." The keeper smiled faintly, his eyes shimmering like dawn. "And that, Thunderer, is the lesson." The chamber grew brighter, the still water glowing as though the river itself approved his words. Zeus stood tall, yet lighter than before, his spirit softened by the truth he had embraced. He carried no storm, no scepter, only the wisdom of the current, gentle yet eternal. The path ahead glowed faintly, leading him onward, deeper into the journey of remembrance. The keeper stepped aside, his presence steady, watching as Zeus walked with quieter strength. For now, the god of thunder no longer sought dominion, but sought to honor what endures. And the river flowed on, timeless and true, carrying whispers, acts, and hearts into forever. The chamber behind him faded, and Zeus stepped into a passage where the air felt warmer, alive with energy. The river's glow shifted into golden hues, like dawn breaking over distant mountains, soft, yet full of promise. The keeper's footsteps echoed lightly, as if even he did not wish to disturb the harmony here. Zeus paused, sensing the current was different, less like memory, more like a river of possibility. He leaned closer, watching ripples that shimmered not with past deeds, but with futures not yet lived. Visions arose, a poet writing words that would inspire generations not yet born, their lines like flame. A healer bending over the sick, bringing comfort that would ripple beyond the moment into countless hearts. Children laughing in fields not yet planted, their joy carried forward. A song awaiting the dawn. Zeus lifted his hand, and the river responded, casting images of paths branching in endless directions. He saw mortals standing at crossroads, their choices small but opening worlds of consequence and meaning. The keeper's voice flowed like the current. Here the river holds not only what was, but what may be. Each spark of decision carries the seed of futures unseen, yet all join the tapestry of eternity. Zeus's heart quickened, for he had always thought destiny fixed, shaped by gods, not mortals. Yet here was proof that mortals themselves carried power, not of thunder, but of choice and will. The visions deepened, showing even gods at crossroads, their choices weaving into mortal fates as one. Zeus saw himself in moments to come choosing mercy instead of wrath, patience instead of thunder. He felt the river urging him, reminding him that even a god may learn to bend with grace. The current shimmered brighter, revealing futures where kindness outweighed pride, where harmony surpassed might. Zeus whispered, "So destiny is not chains, but a river where each soul guides its own flow." The keeper inclined his head. Even gods are not above the current, but within it, as all are. Zeus felt the truth settle deep within him, stronger than storms, softer than rain upon the earth. The cavern widened, and before him rose a great arch of stone, carved as if by eternity. Beneath it, the river flowed like a mirror, reflecting not the present, but endless horizons. Zeus stepped closer, and the vision shifted, showing both light and shadow within futures untold. He saw wars avoided through compassion, kingdoms rising through justice, families healed by forgiveness. Yet he also saw choices of pride, paths where darkness spread, born not of fate but of will. The keeper spoke. "The river does not command. It shows the branching of what may come, and every soul, mortal or divine, holds the power to shape the flow." Zeus felt both humbled and renewed, for the burden of power was no longer his alone. It was shared across all souls, a chorus of freedom, not a chain of destiny. He straightened, his eyes reflecting the golden current, and spoke softly. "Then we are all weavers." The keeper smiled faintly, his shadow long upon the glowing floor. "Yes, Thunderer, all are weavers." The cavern grew brighter, filled with warmth, as if the river itself rejoiced in his understanding. Zeus breathed deeply, his spirit lighter, his heart steady, ready to carry this truth forward. The path stretched on, glowing with promise, and he followed, no longer bound, but guided by wisdom. Behind him, the river of futures flowed, carrying possibility into eternity, unbroken and ever bright. The golden glow faded as Zeus entered the final stretch, where the river slowed into a vast, quiet pool. The cavern here was immense, its ceiling unseen, as though it opened into the very fabric of eternity. The keeper halted at the threshold, his figure still, his silence carrying both reverence and farewell. Zeus stepped forward, his eyes drawn to the center, where the water shimmered with a light beyond time. It was not memory, nor future, but something greater, the river's heart, the source of all flow. The surface was still, reflecting not images but essence, a brilliance too deep to be captured by sight. Zeus felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with awe, as if the cosmos leaned close to listen. The keeper spoke softly, his voice fading into the current. "Here lies the wellspring, the pulse of all souls. From this pool flows every ripple, every whisper, every light carried into the river of eternity." Zeus approached, kneeling by the edge, and for the first time, thunder fell silent within his spirit. He touched the surface, and warmth spread through him, not of fire, but of belonging, infinite and true. Visions surged, not of mortals or gods, but of the unity that bound them, a harmony beyond division. He saw threads weaving together, not separate, but one endless tapestry, shining with countless lights. Each spark, each voice, each act became part of a song that no silence could ever erase. Zeus whispered, "This is the truth of power, not to rule, but to join, to honor, to protect." The river pulsed, and its glow deepened, as though it acknowledged the vow forming in his heart. He rose slowly, taller than before, yet lighter, carrying not thunder, but the song of countless souls. The keeper bowed, his form flickering, his voice a final breath. "You have seen, you have heard, remember." Zeus turned to him, his voice steady, quiet as dawn. "I will carry it. Olympus will not forget." The cavern trembled, not in storm, but in harmony, as the river's glow rose upward like constellations. Lights swirled around Zeus, weaving into his form, blessing him not with dominion, but with wisdom. He felt no crown upon his head, no weight of scepter in his hand, only the river's song within. The keeper's shadow dissolved into the current, merging with the flow, his duty complete at last. Zeus stood alone, yet not alone, for he carried every soul, every spark, every voice within him. He turned back, the path now clear, the glow guiding him toward the world above, steady and true. The silence was no longer emptiness, but a chorus too vast for ears, yet alive within his heart. Each step echoed softly, not with thunder, but with the harmony of all he had come to know. He whispered to the river his words of vow. "I will not forget the smallest spark. All are eternal." The pool shone one last time, its light bending upward, as though the cosmos itself gave its blessing. Zeus walked onward, leaving the cavern, but carrying the river within him, flowing beyond all time. And so the god of thunder emerged, changed, not diminished, but renewed. His power bound with compassion. The river of souls flowed on, timeless and unbroken, its current holding the song of eternity forever.